Okay, so now we're going to write the formula for the sequence. So the first sequence we are given 6, -3, 3 halves, and -3 fourths. So the first thing we want to do is we want to find the common ratio, if it exists. If we cannot find a common ratio, then we do not have a geometric sequence, and we need to check for arithmetic sequence. So here we go. We're going to try this out. So remember, I start at the end, and then I'm going to work backwards, and I'm going to divide, just like we did at the very beginning of this lesson. So I'm going to start with -3 fourths, and I'm going to divide it by 3 halves. And I'm going to type it in my calculator just that way. So let me get my calculator here. And I'm going to say -3 halves divided by, oh, that should be 3 fourths, divided by 3 halves. And I get -1/2 in my calculator for my ratio. All right, well, I'm going to check that that ratio is common all the way through. So I'm going to say 3 halves divided by -3. So I'm going to type in 3 halves divided by -3, and I get -1/2. And I got to check again. I've got one more division. -3 divided by 6. And that gives me a decimal, so I want to make sure it's the right fraction. So I'm going to math 1. And -5/10 is the same as -1/2. So I do have a common ratio, and that common ratio is -1/2. So I now know what I'm going to plug into R, or for R, when I get ready to write my equation. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I have to write the symbol or the notation for the words the next term. So I'm going to write A sub n. That is what represents the words the next term. Equals. Well, if I want to find the next term, I'm always using the number before it, the previous term. So now I need to write the notation or the symbols for the words the previous term. So I'm going to write A sub n minus 1. And then I'm going to put parentheses to show that I'm multiplying, because if it's a common ratio I have, I know I'm multiplying because it's a geometric sequence. And now I want to plug in the value I got for R, which is -1/2. So I'm going to plug in -1/2. So if I want to find the next number after -3 fourths, I'm going to say -3 fourths times -1/2, and that's going to get me the next number in the sequence. And then I can continue that sequence on and on. All right, let's try this next one. So again, the first thing we've got to do is we have to find R. And we're going to start at the end, and we're going to work backwards, and we are going to divide to find R. So I'm going to start with 500 divided by 100, and that's equal to 5. And then I'm going to take 100, and I'm going to divide it by 20, and 100 divided by 20 is also 5, and I've got to check the final ratio, so now I'm going to take 20 and divide it by 4, and that is equal to 5. So my common ratio for this sequence is 5. And now I'm going to write my final equation. So again, I have to write the notation for those words, the next term, and that is represented by A sub n. Equals, because the equals tells me, hey, here is how you find the next term. So now I want to write the notation for the previous term. So I'm going to write A sub n minus 1 to represent the words the next term. And now I'm going to write parentheses to show, because I have a common ratio, I know I have a geometric sequence, so I know that my formula has to involve multiplication. And now I'm going to plug in my common ratio, which is 5. So if I want to find the next number after 500, I'm going to take 500 and multiply it by 5. And I'm going to repeat that process of multiplying by 5 to get the next number. And that is your lesson on geometric sequences.